Okay, guys, it is that time of year again. So as we did last year, and seems to be pretty typical across the space, we're going to offer up a Black Friday special. So we'll be offering this up for the remainder of the week. We'll just run it through Friday. So I think it's very close to what we did last year. So we'll do 30% off of your first month, 35 off of a 3-month, and then one of the big savings is on the 6-monther. We get 40% off. So now look, guys, I don't do a lot of pimping of our membership here. Actually, half the time I forget to mention it. So if I'm doing it, it's for a good reason. I like to think that this is something that might interest prospective members. We are making this available to any and all current members, former members. All right, we got to be fair about that. So that's an option for you if you're interested. You can take advantage of that. Now you do have to use these codes. This will be on our Twitter feed. Oh, if it's not there already. So when you're checking out, if you're going to pursue some of this, you got to put the right code in. That's pretty straightforward. There'll be a little coupon box. I'm sure you've all seen it in checkouts, and that will tally up the discount for you, and it will stay that way. So there you go, right? So if you're a regular viewer here, you'll have to bear with me because I'll be mentioning this all week. But I don't mention it often. So if I'm doing it, it's for a good reason. So I just want you to be aware of that. Again, you can find more out about it over on our Twitter feed. Okay, guys, let's get to the video. Okay, guys, back with you here on the 25th. We're kind of middle of the day, and next up per our polling, you guys were looking for NEO. It's right behind Link. So, like all the alts. Pretty ugly from the pivot high. Now, it gets a little more interesting as we open it up here. So let me do just that here and see if we can. Just want to have a little context. So from our absolute low here, and again we've looked at this before, it's a pretty solid case for a diagonal here, right? So all of the ingredients you'd look for typically, right? So 3 longer than 1, 5 longer than 3. We get an expanding diagonal. It would appear very clear ABC in the 3, and you'd have to go ABC yet again, ABC in the 1. So it looks like that's a fairly solid diagonal to come off the low. So, it's, of course, could be an A wave or could be a 1 wave. So bulls would of course be thinking 1, 2. Bears perhaps A, B, and that would be one hell of a truncation. So there's no clear path here. Right? What's clear? So here we don't quite make the 50. Come to a secondary pivot, and we're just a little shy of the golden zone. It's a true double top here. I mean, these are to the tick. So at least here on Binance, it's not an easy one. So thus I can understand why the request in the polling. Now this zone down here, we have a fairly well established support zone here. So we can see we've tagged it twice. So this seems to be, as far as they want to let the market go, that's deep. We get beyond the 887. So just even from those swing low, right, here's our 887. We're going below that, but technically still internal, right? Pretty good rip off of it. That is an internal retracement, mighty deep. But we've got a fairly well-established base of support here. Now, it would not be crazy to think that could get tested again. But we shall see. So if it's 1, 2, then the only alternate here for a bull would be that we've gone 1, 2 yet again. Now, the alternate would be that if this is not going to go 1, 2, that we could have A, B, C of a larger correction before going back down again. So we got to keep that in mind as a bearish alternative. Let me go from the 8 down to the 3 here. So this, again, so we start here. Now you get kind of an odd start, and this is a count where you have to work backwards. So, which is exactly what I did here, trying to get a handle on it. So if we come working back up, well, I get a clear impulse here from this pivot. I get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, clear as a bell. So working backwards, I can get a 5. It's not much of a B, but it's all we've got, right? So I can get the 1, 2. It's a little wonky in the shaping here, but I can dig the 1, 2 out of there's room for it up here to go 3, 4, 5 into the A. So it would be a shallow B. Yeah, just kind of the looking here across all of that seems to be what factored in here. We run into this structure, prior support becomes the resistance, down we go in a clear 5. Now, are we done? Well, so what's making this count a little tricky here also as well is, you know, you've pretty much got the straight rip up here. So you got to go 1, shallow 2, and then you got to dig your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 3 up on the way. So it's, even here on a 3 hour, it's a little hard to see, but the 4 is, you know, it's essentially this, all of this. You just get what, you know, we often will call is just sideways fuckery here. It's just A, B, is that the C? Whatever it is, we're just going sideways. I even considered looking for a triangle in here, but again, I don't know that it matters as much here, because coming off of this pivot, I get a clear impulse that does seem to finish us. And then again, this is just a to the tick double top. Right, double top's very real, right? We've talked about those before, so it's tempting to anticipate here, because there's stops sitting on the other side of that. So the fact that they can't get through it, run those stops, it tells you something, right? So the market was weak up there. So coming down now, if we just think again, how far we've gone. So in arithmetic, we're above the 786. You can kind of see the account here that's shaping up as a candidate here for a low, but given the trend and this little pop here, I don't know that we can really lean too hard into, oh, well, low's in and off we go, but it's certainly a candidate. So there's no reason to shy away from a long here, but I would be modest with my size allocation here until we get some signs that, oh, maybe we're starting to come out of this. So I would just I would just look for just wicking off the critical pivots here. So this seemed to be a factor. If this is a 1 here, you're kind of always looking, right? Then just look left here. Is this prior structure here that I'm running into? Maybe. Right, the 1 and the 3 seem to give us a little kick here. Now, if this is going to hold, well, we'd have a contender for a corner pocket. Wouldn't be golden, but we'd have the candidate here. Now, let's get that back to original. So your 80% is in play as long as this pivot holds, right? 80% we get there. Now, we could go straight up and get it right here. So it doesn't mean that we're off to challenge those highs. But, you know, that kind of interesting, right? It's just looking at the trajectory of it. You know, if you pull back here, I don't think that helps at all, because we need to project out into the future, even though we have a double top right here. I mean, it's literally to the tick, double top. So if this is going to play as a 1-2, and that's a heavy emphasis on if, because that's very unclear at the moment. Well, if this holds, then of course you'd be looking for, come back here. Something. I wouldn't buy this move myself, right? This coming up to the Vegas wave, reasonable spot. There's going to be algo support from that swing. There'll be a retrace with something looking for that, right? So we can anticipate that. We don't have to wonder, right? Dominant to dominant. We know they're going to be there. Vegas wave comes in here right at the 50. You've got all of this market acceptance, all of this right here, right? So we can kind of see how that could be a factor coming back up to fight through that algo, which will be pushing for that target. It'd be interesting, right? That would be comparable in terms of the retrace relative to this pivot, that this pivot is relative to our low. So interesting to see how that's going to play. So, but even with the little reaction here, I wouldn't buy into that myself. I mean, you're buying right into that structure here. We've got lots of market acceptance here. I would want to see that we don't have a lot of, let's see if we go to the 1 hour. There's not a lot of shape to this yet. So there's, can you really call that a 1? I guess if you go down to the 15, you probably can. I don't like to go down here because it gets very squirrely. Counts get changed all the time. Looks like you'd have to do it that way. Yet again, looks like another double top, but we take that down here low. It looks like, as we get a slightly higher high here. So if that little 3 is my 4, that actually, right? You would have anticipated a bit more in that 5 there, right? So 38, we don't even get up now. This could be, It looks like you could finish that 5 there. So that does look like a candidate for a 1 there, right? Looks like you could go 1, 2, looking for 3, 4, 5 up here. We'll go up a degree. Let's go to blue. Looks like you got a contender here, right? Now, if this starts to come down here, maybe that's your A, B coming down, something like that. Then I like it all the better. Let's tighten this up right here since we bounced around. I mean, leaning into account off the 15-minute. I mean, it's there. So, if you come down into this zone, so anywhere from the 50 to 786, you've got a contender here. Now, even at the hourly, you could draw it up again. So you could think, okay, if that's 1 and I'm going 2 here, golden zone, let's get the original. We'll get something I'd like to see it take a little more time. Then you're projecting up here, thinking 3, 4, 5. But again, I wouldn't go very heavy here, right? So the trend is clearly down. These are very deep retracements. So if you're itching for the buy side, I think that's perfectly valid as a trade here. Well, sure as hell going to put a stop on it. But I wouldn't give that. Well, certainly I wouldn't give it anything below the upsloping. The larger set of median lines. So even, I mean, here's 787, about as much as I'd likely give it. Then going up here for the 4, and then once you get into this shaping here, then what I would suggest is this is the one to be more aggressive on right here. Right, so if we can get something to come back down here so we get a clear motive, and now we're leaning into the idea we've got a 2, I would feel a whole lot better about that. And then we're building the median lines off of larger structure here. So then we'd be in this zone here. Get that back to original. Now we're thinking, oh, okay, now I got structure. I can see where I'm in the count. Despite the deep retracement, this starts to make more sense. I confirm with the motive wave here. Give me a correction down to, I mean, we look for wave 2s between the 50 and the 618 because 73% of wave 2s retrace that far. That's why it's not like, it's not entirely just because that's where an algo is going to fit in. We can look statistically as well with regards to Elliott wave counts, which is how we combine the two. So, I'd be dipping toes here, right? Not going heavy, right? I know it's so tempting because it gets this low. I get that thinking, but you don't want to just buy it because it's low, because it could certainly go lower. So I would be cautious about being overly aggressive here. This one, much better, rather than trying to pick the turn. Okay, just my view, guys. All right, don't want to discourage a bull, but right, so size matters, right? Okay, guys, back to you later.